And we did not start this war in 2022. This is an attempt to stop it.
Do you think you've stopped it now? I mean, have you achieved your aims?
No, we haven't achieved our aims yet, because one of them is denazification. This means the prohibition of all kinds of neo-Nazi movements. This is one of the problems that we discussed during the negotiation process, which ended in Istanbul early this year. And it was not our initiative, because we were told by the Europeans, in particular, that it was necessary to create conditions for the final signing of the documents. My counterparts in France and Germany said, how can you imagine them signing a treaty with a gun to their heads? The troops should be pulled back from Kiev. I said, all right. We withdrew the troops from Kiev. As soon as we pulled back our troops from Kiev, our Ukrainian...
It's because Boris Johnson, that Ottoman fail son, okay, that escaped, did not want Turkey to be known as the country that finally brought peace, okay, to Ukraine. That's why he did that shit. I'm going to tell you right now, that son of a bitch. It was going to be glorious when Turkey was able to, it was going to be glorious when Turkey was going to finally secure peace in Ukraine, okay? And then Boris Johnson was like, no, I will not have it. I will not have it.
The negotiators immediately threw all our agreements reached in Istanbul into the bin.
Read a good comment for a change. I'm a libtard that is slowly getting his mind's eye opened by you. Worst part is I'm Palestinian. That's probably why it took this long for you to have your opinions shifted in the leftmost direction. You probably started realizing that a lot of liberals' contents that you consume personally did not have your best interest in mind, and that they were just unconditionally lapping up American State Department propaganda. And you saw that when it came to Israel, and you were like, wait a minute, this doesn't actually correspond to their own fucking values at all. What the fuck? I thought these guys were progressive. But anyway, I hope your family is all right.
And got prepared for a long-standing armed confrontation with the help of the United States and its satellites in Europe. That is how the situation has developed. And that is how it looks now.
But what is, pardon my ignorance, what is denazification? What would that mean? What is...
Tucker's like, wait a minute, you don't like Nazis? Hold on. What am I doing here? Tucker Carlson's like, wait, hold on. I feel very unsafe. I thought you were pro-Nazi. Yeah, dude, he's so Vladimir Putin is so anti-Nazi. He even dealt with the Wagner group. Just kidding. Obviously, the denazification thing is bullshit. Please, I know I can't make any jokes on this stuff because people are very quick to pounce on it. I've maintained the position that Vladimir Putin's like denazification sentiment has always been a lie from the jump.
Да, вот я как раз хочу сейчас об этом сказать. Это очень важный вопрос. Денацификация.
That is what I want to talk about right now. It is a very important...
It's not bullshit. Ukrainian army has a lot of Nazis. No, dude, it's fucking bullshit because like so does the Russian army. Okay, that is not a good reason, nor even remotely a reason at all to invade Ukraine. Again, another thing that I said literally the day of the invasion was all you do when you invade a country that has a lot of nationalistic sentiment, okay, is galvanize the Nazis and the nationalists as the emancipatory force. Okay? That's it. If you want to denazify Ukraine, you probably should have never, you definitely should have never invaded Ukraine. There is no denazification occurring in that sort. Anyway.
Issue. Denazification. After gaining independence, Ukraine began to search, as some Western analysts say,
Elent News. Yeah, exactly. So the many armies law. Most Ukrainian soldiers are Nazis invaded a country using Nazis to denazify them. I'm just saying, he did fucking deal with Wagner leadership. That's denazification. Point one for Putin. He did.
Its identity. And it came up with nothing better than to build this identity upon some false heroes who collaborated with Hitler.
которые сотрудничали с Гитлером. Я уже говорил, что
I like that he was talking about Molotov-Ribbentrop, and how that is a good justification for why Ukraine is actually Russian, like how Ukraine belongs to Russia. And now he's like, yeah, they had a lot of Nazi collaborators in Ukraine. Yeah, you know what they also had? A shit ton more people in the fucking Red Army. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's besides the point.
I have already said that in the early 19th century, when the theorists of independence and sovereignty of Ukraine appeared, they assumed that an independent Ukraine should have very good relations with Russia.
но в силу исторического развития
But due to the historical development, those territories were part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Poland, where Ukrainians were persecuted and treated quite brutally, as well as were subject to cruel behavior.
идентичность и вели себя очень жестоко, это все осталось в памяти.
There were also attempts to destroy their identity.
Когда началась Вторая мировая война, часть этой
All this remained in the memory of the people. When World War II broke out, part of this extremely nationalist elite collaborated with Hitler, believing that he would bring them freedom.
она начала сотрудничать с Гитлером, полагая, что
The German troops, even the SS troops, made Hitler's collaborators do the dirtiest work of exterminating the Polish and Jewish population. Hence this brutal massacre of the Polish and Jewish population, as well as the Russian population too.
которые с Гитлером сотрудничали. Вот отсюда вот это.
How uncomfortable do you think Tucker is right now? It's like, fuck, man. This guy's going real hard on Nazis. I don't like this. Oh, God.
Жестокая резня.
This was led by the persons who are well known, Bandera, Shukevich. It was those people who were made national heroes. That is the problem. And we are constantly told that nationalism and neo-Nazism exist in other countries as well. Yes, they are seedlings, but we uproot them, and other countries fight against them. But Ukraine is not the case. These people have been made into national heroes in Ukraine. Monuments to those people have been erected. They are
Okay. To be fair, I don't think Ukraine is the only country that has, like, propped up Nazi collaborators as, like, national heroes. There's a lot of countries that have done that. Like, almost the entirety of the Western aligned world, in some shape or another, even though they fought against the Nazis, very clearly, holy shit, Hassan is actually Nazi apologizing here? No, this is not Nazi apologia in any shape or form. The only country, Lamau, imagine thinking Putin is also not a Nazi. Does Hassan really think Putin is not a Nazi? Wait, what? This guy's broken, I think. I thought this guy was like pushing Z. Turns out he just thinks I'm not like going hard against Putin when I literally am going hard against Putin currently. You're all over the place, brother. You're fucking brain broken. How about you focus on the top of the hour ad break? Anyway, no chatter. Tucker is thinking Putin is not a Nazi, and he isn't okay with that. Listening comprehension is at an all-time low. Yeah, no, it's because like we're talking about this one thing that is like a lightning rod for the worst type of chatters to come in. But yeah, no, I didn't take your fucking silly ass Armenian genocide top of the hour debate because I saw that you were using hoggers right before then, and I knew immediately that the top of the hour ad break was going to be debated. So I clicked away. Okay, guess what? Suck me at the top of the hour. But if you don't want the top of the hour to suck, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. I did beat Tekken 8, yes.
displayed on flags. Their names are shouted by crowds that walk with torches, as it was in Nazi Germany.
Они на флагах, они их имена кричат.
These were people who exterminated Poles, Jews, and Russians.
Это люди, которые уничтожали поляков, евреев и русских.
It is necessary to stop this practice and prevent the dissemination of this concept. I say that Ukrainians
Dude, this is why I said it's so Israel of him. Okay? Like, it's annoying because there is truth to the problem of nationalism within Ukraine, football hooligans, Azov Battalion, and the Western world propping up those militant factions leading up to the Russian invasion. Okay? I've said all of this even before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, which many people used to get so mad at me over because like they were like, oh, dude, you are not supporting the cause. You think it's like justified to invade Ukraine when I very clearly said it's not justifiable to invade an entire fucking country because of nationalist elements. It's bullshit. All you're doing is galvanizing those nationalist elements and making them infinitely more popular, which, in my opinion, he did. But overall, it's the same like Israel ass argument to be like, yeah, dude, there's like Nazis there. We have to go and invade with our Nazis. Hooligans Lamau, bro, you serious? Yes, I am serious. Yes, football hooligans play a gigantic role in places like Ukraine. Yeah. No, what do you mean? Yeah. The fuck? Chatters be like, I don't understand. Like, I'm from fucking Iowa. I have never heard of like ultras. They're national in every European country. Yeah, the difference is like when they join battalions and get armed and trained by the American government. That's when they are no longer just ultras, but also now a militant force, a paramilitary. Anyway. Lazio SS.
are part of the
Israel's not the same though. No, what I was saying is like Israel's justification for like Hamas is that like they've eradicated any kind of secular leftist opposition to the Israeli apartheid. And then like the only thing that remains that violently is willing to resist the state of Israel is a more Islamist faction, an Islamist faction that is like the only one that remains. And they see that as a solid position to keep destroying Gaza destroying Gaza whenever they feel like it. And then they're like, yeah, these guys are actually anti-Semitic and they hate Jews. That's why. Then they're Nazis. That's why we have to go in and fucking kill every Palestinian. It's almost identical to Putin's platform. Obviously, like the 75-year occupation is a little different than like the Russian involvement in Ukraine, but the vibes are not dissimilar. I'm pro-Israel and pro-Russia, said no rational human ever. I don't think you've ever met a lot of Russian Israelis. That's number one. Okay. You are so stuck in like an American understanding that it's like either you're pro-Ukraine and pro-Israel or you're pro-Ukraine and pro-Palestinian. There are definitely a shit ton of pro-Israel, pro-Russia people. Rational is not a word he understands. I mean, okay. I don't think it's rational to be fucking pro-Ukraine and pro-Israel either, but it's a very commonly held position.
one Russian people. They say, no, we are a separate people. Okay, fine. If they consider themselves a separate people, they have the right to do so, but not on the basis of Nazism, the Nazi ideology.
Would you be satisfied with the territory that you have now?
Нет, закончим. Вы же задали вопрос по неонацизму и денацификации.
I will finish answering the question. You just asked a question about neo-Nazism and denazification. Look, The president of Ukraine visited Canada. This story is well known, but being silenced in the Western countries. The Canadian Parliament introduced a man who, as the Speaker of the Parliament said, fought against the Russians during the World War II. Well, who fought against the Russians during the World War II? Hitler and his accomplices. It turned out
This kind of shit is like, he's not wrong, and it fucking sucks. Because of the anti-communist sentiment in the West, they have legitimately aligned with like straight up fucking Nazis. Okay? It's just he's the worst person to say it, especially because he himself is currently engaging in, and they have not talked about this at all, by the way. It has been literally 59 fucking minutes, and not one single moment has been talked about like him killing a shit ton of people in Ukraine. Okay? Which is wild. 59 minutes, and we haven't gotten to a single fucking Ukrainian or Russian conscript death. Okay? You said back then that it would bite the West in the ass with the Canada Nazi. Of course. And it should, by the way. It's fucking ridiculous. And the only reason why we prop up these fucking Nazis over and over again is because they are the most rugged anti-communists, okay? That was the historical reason as to why the Western world always aligned with Nazis post-World War II. Obviously, it's not a justification for invading Ukraine or anything like that, especially considering that he is an ultra-nationalist person engaging in violent actions. But it is, I don't know, it's just like that kind of stuff is important to reckon with, especially if you yourself are a rugged anti-communist, I guess.
out that this man served in the SS troops. He personally killed Russians, Poles, and Jews. The SS troops consisted of Ukrainian nationalists who did this dirty work. The president of Ukraine stood up with the entire Parliament of Canada and applauded this man. How can this be imagined? The president of Ukraine himself, by the way, is a Jew by nationality.
Really, my question is, what do you do about it? I mean, Hitler's been dead for 80 years. Nazi Germany no longer exists. And so, true. And so...
Wait, Tucker is not... Wait, what? Tucker, whoa.
Really, my question is, what do you do about it? I mean, Hitler's been dead for 80 years. Nazi Germany no longer exists.
Damn, he's being like, are they really Nazis? Is he going to hit that line? He's going to be like, are they really Nazis? Because, like, you know, the Nazi party doesn't exist anymore. So what's up?
And so, true. And so I think what you're saying is you want to extinguish or at least control Ukrainian nationalism. But how? How do you do that?
Вот послушайте меня. Ваш вопрос очень тонкий.
Listen to me. Your question is very subtle, and I can tell you what I think. Do not take offense.
Of course.
Он, казалось бы, тонкий. Он очень противный, этот вопрос.
This question appears to be subtle. It is quite pesky.
Значит,
You say Hitler has been dead for so many years, 80 years. But his example lives on. People who exterminated Jews, Russians, and Poles are alive. And the president, the current president of today's Ukraine, applauds him in the Canadian Parliament, gives a standing ovation. Can we say that we have completely uprooted this ideology if what we see is happening today? That is what denazification is.
God, it's such good fucking propaganda. God, the West is so dumb. Holy shit.
In our
Tucker Carlson is literally fucking playing the clip too.
We have to get rid of those people who maintain this concept and
once again, just a reminder that he has killed a shit ton of people in Ukraine, which, of course, has not been mentioned at all. And also, he's being interviewed by a literal neo-Nazi, okay? Vladimir Putin is currently being interviewed by a neo-Nazi who has hired neo-Nazis. Just pointing that out for the record. So, you know.
Support this practice and try to preserve it. That is what denazification is. That is what we mean.
Right. My question was a little more specific. It was, of course, not a defense of Nazis, neo or otherwise. It was a practical question. You don't control the entire country. You don't control Kiev. You don't seem like you want to. So how do you eliminate a culture or an ideology or feelings or a view of history in a country that you don't control. What do you do about that?
А вы знаете, как вам не покажется странным, в ходе переговоров в Стамбуле
You know, as strange as it may seem to you, during the negotiations in Istanbul, we did agree that we have it all in writing. Neo-Nazism would not be cultivated in Ukraine, including that it would be prohibited at the legislative level. Mr. Carlson, we agreed on that. This, it turns out, can be done during the negotiation process. And there's nothing humiliating for Ukraine as a modern civilized state. Is any state allowed to promote Nazism? It is not, is it? That is it.
Bro, this is so funny. Yeah, Putin sucks, obviously, but you gotta see the irony a little bit of him straight up being like, it should be illegal to promote Nazism, to Tucker Carlson, who can't really say anything about it for two reasons. One, because obviously he's there to like suck Putin's dick. And also, Putin is not genuine about like denazification anyway. But like, regardless, one, he's there to suck his dick. Two, I feel like if he were to, you know, do the classic, like, what's going on? That's freedom of speech. Well, that's called freedom of speech, sir. He get hit with a fucking uranium dart. So it's really interesting. The dynamics here are very interesting. You got a guy who falsely is claiming that he's doing denazification when, you know, of course, that's not the case. Talking to another guy who very much is a Nazi.
ведь нет, правда? Вот и всё.
Will there be talks, and why haven't there been talks about resolving the conflict in Ukraine? Peace talks.
Они были, они дошли до очень высокой стадии согласования позиций, сложно.
They have been. They reached a very high stage of coordination of positions in a complex process, but still they were almost finalized. But after we withdrew our troops from Kiev, as I have already said, the other side threw away all these agreements and obeyed the instructions of Western countries, European countries, and the United States to fight Russia to the bitter end. Moreover, the president of Ukraine has legislated a ban on negotiating with Russia. He signed a decree forbidding everyone to negotiate with Russia. But how are we going to negotiate if he forbade himself and everyone to do this? We know that he is putting forward some ideas about this settlement, but in order to agree on something, we need to have a dialogue. Is that not right?
Well, but you wouldn't be speaking to the Ukrainian president, you'd be speaking to the American president. When was the last time you spoke to Joe Biden?
I cannot remember when I talked to him. I do not remember. We can look it up.
You don't remember?
No. Why? Do I have to remember everything? I have my own things to do. We have domestic political affairs.
Well, he's funding the war that you're fighting, so I would think that would be memorable.
Dude, how can Tucker get away with this? Dude, I'm so jealous. I'm jealous, dude. Republicans can just like literally be like, Republicans unironically can say like, I hate America, and then still be like considered patriotic. I can't even fucking criticize America without 1,000 people saying I want to like strap myself with strap myself with TNT and blow myself up because I'm a terrorist Islamist fundamentalist. It's so fucked up. He literally is like talking to Putin and saying he's pro-Putin and that he's more pro-Putin than he is pro-Biden. What the fuck? I talked to a fucking Yemeni teenager with a TikTok account. Motherfucking liberals are like, yeah, dog. Yeah, I bet you love sucking terrorist cock, dude. You and your fucking anti-Semitic slaver terrorist Houthi pirates are trying to disrupt global commerce. I hope America blows both of you guys up. Tucker Carlson's over here literally being like, I hate America and I love Russia. Okay? Fuck. Relax. It's starting to sound like Alex Jones. I mean, I'm not wrong about what I just said. People do fucking say that I'm an Islamist fundamentalist, oligarch, neo-Ottomanist who denies the Armenian genocide and only has one note, and it's hating America, blah, 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 blah.
Ну да, он финансирует.
Well, yes, he funds, but I talked to him before the special military operation, of course. And I said to him then, by the way, I will not go into details, I never do, but I said to him then, I believe that you are making a huge mistake of historic proportions by supporting everything that is happening there, in Ukraine, by pushing Russia away. I told him repeatedly, by the way. I think that would be correct if I stop here.
What did he say?
Можно, у него...
Ask him, please. It is easier for you. You are a citizen of the United States. Go and ask him. It is not appropriate for me to comment on our conversation.
But you haven't spoken to him since before February of 2022.
Нет, мы не разговаривали. Но у нас есть...
No, we haven't spoken.
Кстати говоря,
Certain contacts are being maintained, though. Speaking of which,
про мое предложение...
do you remember what I told you about my proposal to work together on a missile defense system?
Yes.
Да. Вот можно спросить у всех. Они же
You can
все
ask all of them.
здоровы.
All of them are safe and sound, thank God.
Бывший президент.
The former president, Condoleezza, is safe and sound, and I think Mr. Gates and the current director of the intelligence agency, Mr. Burns, the then ambassador to Russia, in my opinion, are very successful ambassador.
Они все свидетели этих разговоров.
They were all witnesses to these conversations. Ask them.
Вам интересно, что ответил.
Same here. If you are interested in what Mr. President Biden responded to me, ask him. At any rate, I talked to him about it.
I'm definitely interested, but from the outside, it seems like this could devolve or evolve into something that brings the entire world into conflict and could initiate a nuclear launch. And so why don't you just call Biden and say, let's work this out?
А чего решить? Все очень... всё
What's there to work out? It's very simple. I repeat.
Есть контакты по линии там различных.
We have contacts through various agencies.
Я вам скажу, что мы говорим на эту тему.
I will tell you what we are saying on this matter and what we are conveying to the US leadership.
Боевые.
If you really want to stop fighting, you need to stop supplying weapons. It will be over within a few weeks. That's it.
Тогда можно договориться.
And then we can agree on some terms. Before you do that, stop.
Чего мне звонить?
What's easier? Why would I call him? What should I talk to him about? Or beg him for what?
And what
Вы
messages do you
собираетесь
get back?
поставить такое-то оружие на Украину.
You're going to deliver such and such weapons to Ukraine? Oh, I'm afraid, please don't. What is there to talk about?
Do you think NATO is worried about this becoming a global war or a nuclear conflict?
At least that's what they're talking about. And they're trying to intimidate their own population with an imaginary Russian threat. This is an obvious fact.
Come on, dog. An imaginary Russian threat? The fuck? Dude. Like, what? Is he just saying that, like, Russia never invaded Ukraine or something? Like, what the fuck's going on? Is he just like, yeah, all the territories we annexed is actually Russian territory to begin with? So we technically invaded ourselves? Like, is that what he's saying? The fuck? I don't understand it. The invasion isn't real. It's a figment of your imagination. All of the people that have died on the Russian side, on the Ukrainian side, it's like not real, actually. That's not real at all.
And thinking people, not Philistines, but thinking people.
Not going to invade, by the way, said the guy one day before invading with 200K troops on the border, but Russian threat is imaginary. Yeah, I don't understand what, like he's saying imaginary Russian threat, and it's like how would that be imaginary? He's saying that there won't be a war beyond Ukraine. Oh, yeah. I don't think you can. I mean, I don't think that you can do that. I don't think that he has the capabilities of doing that, which I think a lot of other countries also very quickly realize, which is why they dropped the fake neutrality agreements or anything like that, and joined NATO. Bro, he can't even invade Ukraine. I mean, he obviously can't say that. He can't be like, we can barely do a decent job holding Ukrainian positions. We're not going to go into Poland. Like, don't worry.
Analysts, those who are engaged in real politics, just smart people, understand perfectly well that this is a fake.
Раздувается.
They're trying to fuel the Russian threat.
The threat I think you're referring to is a Russian invasion of Poland, Latvia, expansionist behavior. Can you imagine a scenario where you sent Russian troops to Poland?
Только в одном случае, если со стороны...
Only in one case, if Poland attacks Russia. Why? Because we have no interest in Poland, Latvia, or anywhere else. Why would we do that? We simply don't have any interest. It's just threat-mongering.
Well, the argument, I know you know this, is that, well, he invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, Latvians are so hype right now that they got mentioned. They're like, fuck yeah, dude, we're here. Hell yeah, baby. It's like Moldova mention. Very extra rare Latvia mention. Let's go. Latvia, rise up. He made the Russia threat perception very real. This is the issue. That's why Finland and Sweden joined NATO. This is another L. He didn't want a massive NATO border, so he invaded and caused Russia to have a massive NATO border. I mean, I think the real reason why Finland and Sweden did the dual agreement with NATO isn't because he just invaded Ukraine. I think it's because he invaded Ukraine and failed. Because if he had actually rolled through Ukraine, then yes, there's a very real fear for Finland to potentially join NATO, but that fear also translates to the fear that Russia might retaliate to them. It's the worst of both worlds for Russia in this situation, because not only did they justify fears that other countries might have that Russia might invade them, but he also did it in a way where he failed. So that is precisely the reason why I think Finland felt strong enough to be able to drop the neutrality and join NATO, because what are they going to do? Fucking go and invade? Yeah, Putin literally threatened Sweden and Finland. Like, we forget now, but there was definitely very valid threats against Sweden and Finland, at least in the beginning. You actually think he wanted to invade them? Come on, bro. No, I don't. But I do think that if there was a more successful special military operation in Ukraine, if they were able to take out like all of the anti-aircraft guns. Okay. Oh shit. My mom is texting me. If they were able to do all of that, if they were able to like take over more territory, if they were able to successfully take over Ukraine, even though that annexation would have been virtually impossible to uphold. Sorry, I had to unlock my door. If they were able to do all of that, then Finland would be at least a little bit more concerned with threats from Russia. When they saw that their hands are busy and they're incredibly occupied with like taking over even the eastern positions of Ukraine, that threat basically died. Do you understand? What the fuck is going on, man? Anyway.
Ukraine, he has territorial aims across the continent, and you're saying unequivocally you don't.
Surely it is incredibly reductive to say that the invasion was stupid because it legitimizes NATO. The existence of NATO as an imperialist alliance is already the status quo in the global north. Yes, I'm simply stating that it basically gave more popular support amongst the populations in European countries to feel like their NATO alliances were valid. And it also showed countries like Finland and countries like Sweden that previously had dual neutrality agreements with Russia that Russia is not capable of actually harming them if they were to join NATO. Someone just threatened you in chat. People threaten me all the time, brother. You know, they got to join a long, long line of people that want to kill me. If Russia was able to demonstrate more military competence, I guess, if Russia was able to demonstrate better military competence and actually annex Ukraine, let's say, in a hypothetical scenario, take out their anti-aircraft weapons, immediately have air superiority, and you know, just march their troops all the way to the Polish border or whatever. At that point, if they were able to steamroll through Ukraine, then their ground invasion capabilities would be genuinely scary for a country like Finland. Therefore, they would most likely not be as like the threat of a Russian invasion, if it's a credible one, is the reason why countries will maintain neutrality, is what I'm trying to say. Once that threat is eliminated because of an actual fucking, because you actually saw that they failed in Ukraine, then they're much more ready to join NATO.
Это абсолютно исключено.
It is absolutely out of the question. You just don't have to be any kind of analyst. It goes against common sense to get involved in some kind of a global war.
Глобальная война поставить на грань.
And a global war will bring all humanity to the brink of destruction. It's obvious.
Вот. И есть, конечно, средства.
There are certainly means of deterrence. They have been scaring everyone with us all along. Tomorrow Russia will use tactical nuclear weapons. Tomorrow Russia will use that. No, the day after tomorrow. So what?
Выбить из налогоплательщиков
In order to extort additional money from US taxpayers and European taxpayers in the confrontation with Russia in the Ukrainian theater of war. The goal is to weaken Russia as much as possible.
One of our senior United States senators from the state of New York, Chuck Schumer, said yesterday, I believe, that we
Yeah, what's up, Tugger? Go ahead. Explain why that's a bad thing to your audience. This is why I mean it's like very odd for him to have this conversation, because it's like if you describe to Republicans what the liberal position is on Russia on terms that are not uncertain, they probably would be like, yeah, okay, it's not a bad idea, actually. Russia is scary. They're communists. And that's why taking down their military by throwing Ukrainians in the fucking fire pits probably not the worst idea. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's a lot of political polarization in this country, but the bipartisan support for American foreign policy exists for a reason. Right wingers are very reactionary against America's foreign adversaries that they have been conditioned into hating for their whole lives. That's why I find it really funny that there's like a pro-Russian contingency amongst the right, because they're like, they went their whole lives with the Red Scare propaganda, thinking that these guys are going to come and invade, you know? And then all of a sudden, through like one Telegram group, they immediately were able to rewrite all of that Red Scare propaganda and now are pro-Russia because Russia is like anti-trans. So fucking stupid.
we have to continue
Like, you got to be extra dumb to be able to rewrite everything in your brain, rewire everything in your brain with like one Telegram group.
to fund the Ukrainian effort, or U.S. soldiers, citizens could wind up fighting there. How do you assess that?
Это провокация.
This is a provocation, and a cheap provocation at that.
Американские солдаты должны воевать.
I do not understand why American soldiers should fight in Ukraine. There are mercenaries from the United States there. The bigger number of mercenaries comes from Poland, with mercenaries from the United States in second place, and mercenaries from Georgia in third place.
Безусловно.
Well, if somebody has the desire to send regular troops, that would certainly bring humanity to the brink of very serious global conflict. This is obvious. Do the United States need this? What for?
Национальной территории. У вас нечем заниматься.
Thousands of miles away from your national territory.
На границе полно. Проблемы с
Don't you have anything better to do?
государством.
You have issues on the border, issues with migration, issues with the national debt, more than $33 trillion. You have nothing better to
Dude, he is so good at being a right-wing commentator in America. It's crazy. Like, he literally just hit like 3 lines that you hear on Fox News. He knows all the American talking points. He's such a fucking good hog. He's oinking. Oh my Lord.
do
Jesus.
so, you should fight in Ukraine?
Понимая ситуацию, которая складывается.
Wouldn't it be better to negotiate with Russia, make an agreement, already understanding the situation that is developing today, realizing that Russia will fight for its interests to the end?
К здравому смыслу.
And realizing this, actually return to common sense, start respecting our country and its interests, and look for certain solutions. It seems to me that this is much smarter and more rational.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
I was busy that day. Nate, do you have
Why are they having so much fun? They're yucking it up, dude. Big time, okay? I jokingly refer to Vladimir Putin as Pootie Poo, but like, I feel like this is ultra nationalist Riz, you know what I mean? Like they're straight up flirting.
I did not blow up
То есть
Nord
у вас-
Stream.
у
Thank
вас-
you, though.
У вас лично, может быть, есть алиби, у вас лично.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such alibi.
Do you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
Знаете,
You know, I won't get into details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities. Because there may be many people interested, but not all of them are capable of sinking to the bottom of the Baltic Sea and carrying out this explosion.
This is a really interesting time to reveal this, but Sweden has closed the investigation of the pipeline blast, but stays silent on the cause. The natural gas connection was sabotaged in September 2022, 7 months after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, prompting rampant speculation about who's to blame. Remember when everybody was yelling at me, another fucking history will vindicate me moment? Oh my lord, remember that one? Remember how quickly, it was actually an exercise in collective psychosis, in my opinion, how quickly liberals will immediately adopt a position, no matter how insane it sounds, where they were like, oh, it must have been Russia. It must have been Russia that blew up its own pipeline. And there were unironically hella people. There were unironically hella people repeating that when it made no fucking sense whatsoever. There were so many people. I don't think people still believe that, but you're believing Putin law? See, dude, this is like the brother, I'm believing the New York Times. What the fuck? No, I don't have to believe Putin, dumbass. What are you talking about? I have eyes, ears, a brain. The fuck? Why is it that Sweden did not reveal who did it? America basically admitted that it was Ukrainian-aligned actors. Sweden closed the investigation and did not reveal who did it because they were like, oh shit, I don't know. Have you considered the bad guys can be never correct about anything? Exactly. They didn't reveal because the question of jurisdiction was more complicated than where the crime had been committed. Yeah. Yeah. That's why they didn't reveal it. They just couldn't. Bro, I'm sorry. If it was Russia, they would not give a fuck about jurisdiction, okay? I guess we'll never know. Anyway, who knows? I guess it just kind of did it. Dude, pipelines. Hey, pipeline expert here. Pipelines only do this when they're under severe stress. So it's not funny nor cute, okay? It just kind of did it on its own.
These two
You're using prejudice, not logic. If you knew exactly who did it, but I won't. If you knew exactly who did it, but I won't tell. Yeah, I'm using prejudice, not logic, when I say that it is prejudicely not remotely sound to blow up your own pipeline. That is like your major point of leverage for European like a stress point and a leverage point for your allegiance with Europe.
Two components should be connected. Who is interested and who is capable of doing it?
But I'm confused. I mean, that's the biggest act of industrial terrorism ever, and it's the largest emission of CO2 in history. Okay, so if you had evidence, and presumably given your security services, your intel services, you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West did this, why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States, because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media.
Bro, they literally full-throatedly immediately said Russia must have blown up its own pipeline. Like, that was such a major holy shit moment. Like, it made no logical sense whatsoever, and everyone just kind of went along with it. Okay? You're treating Russia like a monolith. There's been power struggles in Russia, oligarchs falling out of windows, Dugin's daughter killed by a car bomb, the Wagner rebellion. Yeah. This is one of your bad takes. The U.S. avoided direct involvement in escalation in Ukraine. It's not our style to commit essentially an act of war against Europe. Ukraine is going off the reservation makes more sense. Wait, I never... What do you mean? I said that it was... If you think that there was no involvement in Ukraine and it was just Ukrainian actors in and of itself, you're still admitting that it wasn't Russia. And that's really odd. Unless you were trying to say, you said the U.S. is most likely responsible. It's not our style. Yes, I said U.S. or U.S. trained actors or U.S. involvement is absolutely, in my honest assessment, is absolutely the most likely scenario. But it's the same opinion that I have for like the Contras. You know what I mean? Would you say that the Contras do not have any U.S. involvement in their actions? Do you think that they were just operating on their own? You know what I mean? Also, the idea that it's not our style is so dumb. It is absolutely our style. Yeah, it was a Ukrainian sabotage group, and the Poles likely knew the boat reportedly set off from their coastline and basically ignored it, it seems. Yeah. It absolutely is our style. It's like perfectly aligned with our style. What's also crazy is still people turning around and immediately, like, I think you're forgetting my major point of contention here is that people immediately went with the least rational option, which is Russia must have done it to itself. Like, that's insane to me. The amount of people that just lap that up, I cannot overcome. Like, I cannot. It was so nuts. Seymour Hersh revealed information. Sure, he's a little bit old now, and immediately people were dunking on him. They were saying he's like Russian. He's a Russian op. It's like Russian-backed rebels of the BUK missile system who shot down the passenger plane a decade ago. Did Putin order or intend that? Wait, what? Dude, how are you comparing these two things? That's insane to compare these two things. Russia is in active conflict at this point with, and the pipeline is a major point of leverage for them. Like, the likelihood that this was some Russian actor inside of the state is crazy.
The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American financial institutions. Don't you know that? So it is possible to get involved in this work, but it is cost prohibitive, so to speak. We can simply shine the spotlight on our sources of information, and we will not achieve results. It is clear to the whole world what happened, and even American analysts talk about it directly. It's true.
Yes, but here's a question you may be able to answer. You worked in Germany, famously. The Germans clearly know that their NATO partner did this, and it damaged their economy greatly. It may never recover. Why are they being silent about it? That's very confusing to me. Why wouldn't the Germans say something about it?
Ну, меня это тоже удивляет.
This also confuses me. But today's German leadership is guided by the interests of the collective West rather than its national interests. Otherwise, it is difficult to explain the logic of their action or inaction. After all, it is not only about Nord Stream 1, which was blown up, and the Nord Stream 2 was damaged. But one pipe is safe and sound, and gas can be supplied to Europe through it. But Germany does not open it. We're ready, please.
Но Германия же не открывает его.
There's another route through Poland, called Yamal Europe, which also allows for large flow. Poland has closed it, but Poland pecks from the German hand. It receives money from the pan-European funds, and Germany is the main donor to these pan-European funds. Germany feeds Poland to a certain extent, and they closed their route to Germany. Why? I don't understand. Ukraine, to which the Germans supply weapons and give money. Germany is the second sponsor of the United States in terms of financial aid to Ukraine. There are two gas routes through Ukraine. They simply closed one route, the Ukrainians. Open the second route and please get gas from Russia. They do not open it. Why don't the Germans say, look guys, we give you money and weapons, open up the valve, please, let the gas from Russia pass through for us. We're buying liquefied gas at exorbitant prices in Europe,
Втридорого покупаем сжиженный газ.
which brings the level of our competitiveness and economy in general down to zero.
До нуля.
Do you
Yeah, now he's speaking to all of the fucking far right EU audience. As far as saying like Germany's cucked by America, we want to give Germany oil and gas. Your gas bills are cooked because of the United States of America. Now he's hitting the fucking right-wing European audiences too.
who want us to give you money? Let us have the decent existence.
Dude, he's
Make money
God,
for
he's a very good propagandist. Like again, we are now 1 hour and 15 minutes into this interview where not a single mention of Ukrainian invasion, not a single mention of the casualties, how that's going, what the plans are for the future. It's crazy. He's just basically using Tucker Carlson as a bounce board to telegraph all of his ideas and communicate all of his ideas to a different, various far-right groups.
our economy, because this is where the money we give you comes from. They refuse to do so. Why? Ask them. That is what is like in their heads. Those are highly incompetent people.
Well, maybe the world is breaking
take
into
Kai
two hemispheres, one with cheap energy, the other without. And I want to ask you that. If we're now a multipolar world, obviously we are, can you describe the blocks of alliances? Who is in each side, do you think?
Послушайте, вы сказали, мир разделяется на два.
Listen, you have said that the world is breaking into two hemispheres. A human brain is divided into two hemispheres.
Одну сферу деятельности, другая более креативная.
One is responsible for one type of activities, the other one is more about creativity and so on. But it is still one and the same head.
Они рассчитаны
The world should be a single whole. Security should be shared rather than meant for the golden billion.
устойчивым и
That is the only scenario where the world could be stable, sustainable, and predictable. Until then, while the head is split in two parts, it is an illness, a serious adverse condition. It is a period of severe disease that the world is going through now. But I think that, thanks to honest journalism, this work is akin to work of the doctors. This could somehow be remedied.
Well, let's just give one example, the US dollar, which has kind of united the world in a lot of ways, maybe not to your advantage, but certainly to ours. Is that going away as the reserve currency, the universally accepted currency? How have sanctions, do you think, changed the dollar's place in the world?
Вы знаете, это одна из грубейших
You know, to use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy struggle is one of the biggest strategic mistakes made by the US political leadership.
доллар. Это основа основ могущества США.
The dollar is the cornerstone of the United States power. I think everyone understands very well that no matter how many dollars are printed, they are quickly dispersed all over the world.
По-моему, 3%, примерно 3-4, что ли. Вот, приемлемо для США абсолютно.
Inflation in the United States is minimal. It's about 3 or 3.4%, which is, I think, totally acceptable for the US. But they won't stop printing. What does the debt of $33 trillion tell us about? It is about the emission.
Как только политическое руководство приняло решение использовать доллар в качестве инструмента политической борьбы,
Nevertheless, it is the main weapon used by the United States to preserve its power across the world. As soon as the political leadership decided to use the US dollar as a tool of political struggle, a blow was dealt to this American power. I would not like to use any strong language, but it is a stupid thing to do and a grave mistake.
Сокращают запасы доллара. Все смотрят на то, что происходит, и начинают искать возможности.
Look at what is going on in the world.
The brain rot over this interview on Twitter is insane. What do you mean? Remember when we thought we weren't going to watch the whole thing? I didn't think I was going to watch the whole thing, but honestly, it's pretty solid. Like, how did Tucker manage to get an interview with Putin? Easy. He is a very obvious propagandist. Also, the timing of this interview is also kind of interesting because it's coming on the heels of like Zelensky. It's coming on the heels of like America obviously changing its direction and attitude about Ukraine, not wanting to give more money to Ukraine. It's also happening as like Zelensky fired as general. It's a really interesting time to like disseminate this level of propaganda to the Western world because it really drives home. It really works actively to divide Western audiences. If you're a right winger, you watch this interview, I suspect you're not going to look at this and go, yeah, this guy's a fucking bloodthirsty monster who we have to keep funding money and give money to Ukraine. Like, he presents himself very well, obviously, because he is a really good propagandist, and it's not too terrible that for him that like Tucker Carlson is eating his dick. What, Zelensky and the whole of Western media spoke of a night of the long knives in Ukraine. Seriously, this is not wrong? Wait, what do you mean? How much of the money we gave to Ukraine was cash and how much was in military equipment? I don't know what the exact percentage breakdown is, but it's really funny that people think that we're just like giving bags of cash to Ukraine. We have given a lot of cash to Ukraine for economic development, but a lot of the fucking money that we give to Ukraine is just money being recycled back into the military industrial complex that is now able to send all of their refurbished and older fucking weapons. It's just equipment. When we say we're giving, $10 billion to Ukraine, it's not fucking actually bags of cash. That would probably be less damaging overall for the ecosystem, okay? It's actually just straight weapons. And yes, a lot of those old equipment and a lot of the old weapons that we send them is also not exactly accounted for perfectly either. But yeah, it's just, I think Americans just like misunderstand that. You know what I mean? Sabanja Holdings, lol. Dude, this is so funny. Yes, brother. Yes, my dad was a vice president at a fucking holding group like 25 years ago. What the fuck is this? These dudes like try to dox my family members and not even do a good job at it. Like, what do you mean? What is this, an own? I've always talked about this shit, dumb fuck. It's so stupid. They also literally think that like the entire holding group's like wealth is my dad's or something. That he's like a fucking billionaire. They're so stupid. Like, that's the new Hassan bad line. It's so wild to just be like, damn, dog, I can't believe your dad worked at a fucking holding group. Like, they're so dumb. They're so fucking dumb. Four-channers are not the smartest people. I know. They literally think that I'm like personally a fucking billionaire trust fund kid. It's so fucking stupid. If I was a trust fund kid billionaire, why the fuck would I be doing this here? And not only that, but also, I mean, I assist my family now with finances. So that's also additionally funny that they're like, wow, dude, your dad's a billionaire. It's like, no, dog. I wish. Wouldn't be having to put up with your fucking bullshit online. Anyway, yeah, I'm the only multi-billionaire generational fucking oligarch that spends 8 to 10 hours every fucking day online getting yelled at by literally the most mentally ill cyber stalkers that have ever existed on